Smell your armpits! Welcome, wizards, witches, muggles, and house elves. You guys asked for a technical breakdown of all the grappling scenes in the Harry Potter movies, so that's exactly what you're getting, because like Dumbledore, we give the people what they want. In this video, we're going to analyze the various grappling and hand-to-hand fight scenes in the first 4 movies. Part 2 will come out soon, which will cover the last 4 movies. Then we'll award the characters their appropriate belt we determined based on their skill level. And finally, we'll discuss possible super fights between characters from other worlds, like Dobby vs. Gollum, and break down exactly how that would realistically play out. Let's get right into it. There are some extremely powerful wizards and witches in the world of Harry Potter, but nobody has taken time to check their grappling.
Nobody checked the grappling.
Well, I did, and I discovered that there are a few unsuspecting characters that are absolute sleepers and potential black belts that I'm excited to share with you. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. We see Harry being pushed around by his fat pig boy of a cousin Dudley on 3 separate occasions in the first Harry Potter movie. First, at the start of the movie, Dudley pushes Harry back into his cupboard. At the zoo, he shoves Harry to the ground in front of the snake enclosure, and lastly, he steals Harry's letter from Hogwarts out of his hand. So let's look at how Harry could have used grappling to come out on top of these confrontations. In the first scene, Dudley runs down the stairs and in front of Harry at pace, and as he goes to push Harry back into the cupboard, we can see his posture is leaning forward and he's leaning with his left leg. This is the perfect setup to hit a double leg, which is what Harry should have done. As Dudley comes near Harry and extends his arm to push him, Harry wants to close the distance by changing levels and pushing his cousin's arm up while maintaining an upright posture. Then we enter for the double, suck in and elevate his legs and rotate in the direction he's running so that we can use his momentum to finish the takedown. This would have sent a message to Dudley that Harry will no longer tolerate being pushed around by him, and it could have been a major turning point in their relationship. At the zoo, when Dudley sees the snake finally start to move, he gets excited, runs right next to Harry, and shoves him to the ground. Harry easily could have avoided this by hearing him yell, which is an indicator that an attack is imminent, and then simply stepping back to dodge the shove, jumping on his back, and sinking in the rear naked choke, which would have put him out in a few seconds. And if Harry really wanted to go full savage mode, he could have then fed his cousin's dead corpse to the snake to get rid of his bully problem indefinitely, which is what I would have done personally. In the last scene with Dudley, we see him snatch Harry's letter from Hogwarts out of his hand. This is where Harry really could have put the hurt on him. Dudley goes in to grab his letter, and as he extends his arm, we hit a flying armbar on him. A few minor details to make this technique work are, number 1, before we hit the armbar, we bait him in to reach for the letter so that his arm is in the exact position we want by moving the letter close to our chest. Number 2, once his arm is fully extended and in the position we want, we firmly grip up. And finally, number 3, after we go airborne, we tuck our chin to our chest so we don't land on our head. We fast forward to Hogwarts, where Harry has become friends with fellow Gryffindor students Ron and Hermione. Here, Hermione is getting hit on by a troll in the girls' bathroom. So this is actually a good lesson to my 2% of female viewers of what to do when you want to get rid of a guy that won't leave you alone. Ron runs in with Harry at the nick of time to save his girl. We have a massive mismatch here, but nevertheless, Harry demonstrates great bravery and decisiveness under pressure, which we'll see as a reoccurring theme for him, by charging forward and taking the trolls back. This was a smart tactical decision by him. We then see the troll start to flail around and ends up pulling Harry off of his back by his leg. Harry could have avoided this by locking his legs around the troll's girthy neck as soon as he landed on his shoulders to form a sort of triangle choke variation, and ideally choke the troll unconscious before it had time to pull Harry off of him. So a good decision to take the back by Harry, he just should have gone in for the submission faster. Now we'll look at the most prominent and intense hand-to-hand fight scene in the first movie. Harry's fight with Professor Quirrell / Voldemort. Voldemort starts flapping his jaws in this scene about how he'll bring Harry's parents back if he gives him the Sorcerer's Stone, blah blah blah, but Harry's no fool, he sees right through the Dark Lord's lies. So realizing Harry cannot be corrupted, Voldemort sends in his minion Professor Quirrell to kill him. Quirrell flies towards Harry, knocks him down with one hand, is awarded 2 points for the takedown, and starts choking him. Now let's look at how Harry could have stopped this takedown from happening. As Quirrell flies in, we're going to continue with the flow of our opponent's momentum by hitting an Ippon Seiyonagi on him, which is a judo throw that translates to one-arm shoulder throw in Japanese, sending him crashing down onto the stairs behind us, which I imagine will hurt quite a bit, considering the speed at which Quirrell was flying in at and the hardness of the stairs. Harry could have then held him there and finished him off once he had the dominant top position. However, if Quirrell still got the takedown, Harry could have taken advantage of Quirrell's extended arm and forward pressure by throwing up an armbar on the deranged lunatic, which he could use to break his arm or to control him long enough to allow Harry to put his hands on him and turn him into ash like he ended up doing in the movie. Recognizing that Quirrell's weakness is touching him and capitalizing on this, again, shows Harry's decisiveness in the heat of combat and high fight IQ. Attributes that we'll take into consideration when awarding belts at the end of this video. Lastly, the cursed Voldemort rises from Quirrell's quiet corpse and flies through Harry, knocking him out. Harry should have just teep-kicked him here. Sparta! Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. It's Harry's second year at Hogwarts, and as he is preparing to leave for the start of the school year, he gets a surprise visit from Mikey Musumeci, Dobby, in his bedroom. This is the house elf's first appearance in the movies, and we're not quite sure what to think of him yet. As the scene progresses, we learn that Dobby has been up to no good, as he has been intercepting Harry's letters from his friends all summer. This pisses Harry off, and he goes to grab Dobby to take his letters back, but Dobby uses his agility to evade being captured by hitting a mean duck under and runs out of the room. Although Dobby is tiny and super quick, I believe there is still a possibility that Harry could have successfully grabbed him and prevented him from running away, which caused Harry a lot of trouble later in the movie. How, you ask? Simple. We take a page out of the book of our brothers in the Far East and hit an Imanari roll on the little fella. From this position, we have control of Dobby and can take the letters back. A bit later in the movie, we are at Diagon Alley, where Harry and Squad are getting school supplies at Flourish and Blotts. All of a sudden, a Death Eater, Lucius Malfoy, enters the scene and goes to forcefully shake Harry's hand. Harry, being the gentleman that he is, obliges, and Lucius pulls him in close so that he can inspect Harry's scar. What Harry could have done here is proceed to shake Malfoy's hand, but then immediately hit Mighty Mouse's patented drop arm drag to an ankle pick to a single leg. As you can see in this clip of Mighty Mouse wrestling this Russian Olympic silver medalist in freestyle wrestling, there is a vast size and height difference, just like there is between Harry and Lucius. Let's break this technique down. Wrist control, arm drag, but instead of your standard arm drag, we are dropping to our right butt cheek, throwing our right leg in front of their outside foot, and hugging the back of his knee with our left arm. Then, as he falls forward and goes to step out, we come up with his ankle and transition to a single leg. Up to this point, we've only analyzed 1v1s. Now, we're going to break down this courtyard confrontation between the two Gryffindor and Slytherin Quidditch teams. I gotta say, right off the bat, this is just sloppy leadership from Wood as the captain of the Gryffindor team. He should have harnessed the spirit of his frickin' ancestor, William Wallace, and set the precedent for his team by immediately cross-checking the Slytherin captain, Marcus Flint, in the face. The rest of his team would have followed suit and joined in. Instead, Wood reads the letter from Snape that gives the Slytherin team permission to practice as they step aside and reveal Malfoy as their new seeker. We also see Canelo Alvarez lurking behind the team. I'm not sure why he was at Hogwarts at this time, seeing as that he is Mexican. So this must have been some kind of foreign exchange student program. Regardless of why he's here though, this is an absolute game changer. If the two teams were to get into a brawl, Gryffindor would need to find some way to take down Canelo immediately to prevent him from throwing hands and dropping the entire Gryffindor team one by one. Hang on a second, you're probably wondering what in the world are Fred and George doing standing over on the Slytherin side? This is actually part of their tactical brilliance. Allow me to explain. When Draco calls Ron's lover Hermione a mudblood, Ron should have double-legged him into Fred and George, who will be able to protect him from the other Slytherins once they hit the ground, and hopefully let Ron get a little ground and pound going or get the sub. This is why Fred and George were standing on the Slytherin side. Their self-defense and situational awareness skills kicked in and directed them to stand in a spot where they would be able to scrap if things popped off. This is some high-level fight IQ from the Weasley twins. If the two teams faced off in a submission grappling match, let me know in the comments who you got winning. Despite Slytherin having Canelo, I gotta go with Gryffindor. I think Fred and George are pretty lethal, and I could see both of them having an insane guard game. The last clip from the second movie that we'll look at is Harry's duel with Voldemort's pet, the Basilisk. Harry ended up slaying the beast, but he was bitten in the heat of battle as he delivered the killing blow. So let's look at a path to victory that allows Harry to come out of the fight unharmed. While on top of the statue, the basilisk is staring down our protagonist and is expecting Harry to continue slashing away at it with his sword. Instead, let's throw a curveball at the beast and take his back by grabbing onto his teeth and performing a modified north-south backtake escape from bottom. In Harry's case, it'll be more of a cartwheel onto his back from standing while holding its teeth to guide him down onto the back of its head. Then we stab it in the head. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Movie number 3. It's a beautiful snowy day here on the grounds of Hogwarts. That is, until Malfoy and his cronies show up. They start pestering Ron and his lover Hermione, and then, like the Riders of Rohan ascending down onto the Orc army at the Battle of Helm's Deep, Harry comes in to save the day and starts chucking snowballs at Malfoy's crew. I actually think Harry does really well here at creating chaos and division amongst the Slytherins. Pulling down Crabbe's pants and kicking him to the ground was a good way to take the biggest and strongest adversary out of the fight, at least momentarily. Again, exemplifying Harry's high fight IQ. The first improvement I noticed that he could have done to take them all out more efficiently is when he grabbed Pike's scarf. Instead of just throwing him to the ground, he could have easily turned this winter garment into a strangulation device to choke him unconscious in a matter of seconds. Now we turn to Malfoy, who, in his state of confusion and terror, trips over Crabbe like a moron. Up to this point in the films, Malfoy has shown no sign of grappling ability, and as a very egotistical and selfish person, I doubt he has ever partaken in a craft like martial arts that crushes a person's ego and builds character. So it's a safe bet to assume Harry can dominate him on the ground, especially when he's invisible. I don't like how Harry let him off so easy by just dragging him in the snow for a short distance. We need to put the pain on this brat. So as Harry grabs his leg and begins to drag him, he should have applied a heel hook on the defenseless Malfoy and proceeded to break his leg. After he breaks the first leg, he should switch to the other leg and break that one as well. And for those of you that say this is too harsh, I don't care. Break it. I remember hating Malfoy with the passion of 1,000 suns as a kid, for whatever reason. Probably because everybody said I looked like him as another little blonde boy. This would also take out Slytherin's starting Seeker, giving Gryffindor an advantage on the Quidditch field. Or Sky. Arena. Yeah, Quidditch Arena sounds right. Another key scene to look at in the movies is actually at the beginning of the third movie on the train when Harry was attacked by the Dementor. This situation begs the question, how should you attack or engage with someone that's standing right in front of you? With Draco standing in front of Ron and Hermione, we double-legged him because we wanted to land next to our brothers, Fred and George, who could protect us while on the ground. For this scenario, however, we don't want to go backwards with our foe, the Dementor. We want to, again, stay close to our teammates and friends, and inside this room where we can create a 4-on-1 against the Dementor. That's the plan of attack. We also need to attack right away by snapping out of that fear that we saw paralyze Harry. So as soon as the Dementor opens the door, what we'll do is grab his wrist and hit a basic arm drag to get him to completely enter the enclosed space. I chose the arm drag because even if it turns out that Homie has some training and knows how to defend the arm drag, maybe he went to a few open mats in Azkaban, or they might even have their own grappling teams at Azkaban for the wardens and the prisoners, like they did for football teams in The Longest Yard. But I digress. Even if he does defend by spinning out of the arm drag to prevent us from taking his back, like most experienced grapplers will do, that's still completely fine because taking the back was not our goal. We just want to move him into the room so that the squad can gang up on him. Ron can sick Scabbers on him, Lupin can go wolf mode on him. It'll be a great bonding experience and start to the new year for the trio and their new friend, Professor Lupin. The Shrieking Shack Showdown. Although we later learn that the Black Dog is Sirius Black and was ultimately protecting Ron didn't know this at the time and could have defended being dragged into the Shrieking Shack by hitting a Sumi Geishi on Sirius, which is a throw that can still be hit while lying down on the ground. This viral clip of a man using a Sumigeishi on a ram is exactly what I'm talking about. This would have ideally sent Sirius flying over and allowed Ron to regroup with Harry and his lover Hermione. Inside the Shrieking Shack, this is the first time we see Sirius in person, and it's important to note that at this point in time, Harry believes that Sirius killed his parents, so he is filled with rage. Harry attacks with a double-handed throat squeeze, and his takedown ends up being successful, but likely because Sirius was probably not resisting, as he is Harry's godfather and did not want to hurt him. Here's how Harry could have taken down Sirius more efficiently and with less room for air. Similar to the Dementor scene, we want to take down our opponent behind us in the direction of our friends so that they can help us in a situation where every split second counts. Harry could have taken advantage of his youthfulness, athleticism, and height difference with Sirius by hitting a Kataguruma or Fireman's Carry on him, sending him behind us flat on the ground like a pancake. To make this throw work, we grip up with Sirius and give him a slight push backwards while we kick out his right leg to bait the reaction from him that we want. He'll resist by moving forward to defend against our push, and his posture will be broken down because of the leg kick. This sets him up perfectly for the Kataguruma. Once he's on the ground, we can apply the armbar, or we can take his back if he tries to get up. Professor Snape enters the scene right as they're about to expose Peter Pettigrew and disarm Sirius. Now, Snape vs. Sirius here is just like Khabib vs. Conor. Let me explain. Snape, aka Conor, is the striker in this scenario because he still has his wand and can maintain his advantage by keeping his distance. Sirius, aka Khabib, now without a wand, needs to close the distance to level the playing field, which he very sneakily does. Snape made the mistake letting Sirius get close to him, perhaps due to his overconfidence in his magic ability, or perhaps due to his anger he still feels for Sirius from being bullied by him as a kid. What Sirius could have done here at this close range is hit a front Uchimata or Yagura Nage on Snape, which smothers his wand arm, neutralizing his magic and leveling the playing field. Just like Khabib taking Conor down neutralized his most dangerous weapon, his left hand, same principle here. This would also allow Sirius to pin down Snape long enough for Lupin to retrieve his wand. At the climax of this movie, Lupin goes full werewolf mode, and we are faced with the most challenging grappling contest thus far. Snape is the first line of defense as he jumps in front of his students to protect them. Now, like we discussed in the How to Survive a Demogorgon Attack video, which, I'll point out, Werewolf Lupin very closely resembles, we can hit the same sequence we practiced that allows us to stay away from the beast's claws and fangs. We do not want to get yeeted into the Shadow Realm like Sirius. Let's recap what that looks like. Duck under, single leg, back take, body lock, mat return, back take. This buys Snape enough time to conjure some sort of incantation or spell and allows the trio to find a wand and fight back. Harry Potter and the Goblet de Fuego. Alright folks, we've made it to the fourth and final movie that we'll be breaking down in this episode. There aren't a lot of physical altercations in this movie for us to discuss, but there still are a few good ones, like most notably the aging potion brawl between Fred and George. After devising the brilliant plan to trick the most powerful wizard in the world, Albus Dumbledore, so that they can enter into the Triwizard Tournament underage, the twins set their plan in motion, but it instantly backfires. Should have listened to Hermione, boys. The Goblet de Fuego shoots them out and makes them look like old men, which they blame each other for and begin to scrap. Now, this is actually one of the most technical fight scenes in the whole Harry Potter series, and Fred and George attempt some legitimate grappling techniques. But because they know each other so well and they're practically the same person, they are able to neutralize each other's offense, and it pretty much turns into a scramble for position. Let's take a look. After they land, Fred attacks George, and George instantly pulls guard and puts up a knee shield. Fred tries to pass, but George successfully sweeps him to almost end up on top, but they end up in a neutral position. George goes for the back take from here, but Fred turns out of it. Like I said, this was probably the most technical scene so far, but they still could have definitely improved certain things. George did a great job putting up the knee shield and using it to sweep Fred, but his efforts were in vain because he wasn't able to secure a dominant position. So let's look at how he could have done things differently. He gets the knee shield, Fred tries to pass, and this is where we make the first correction. Before we sweep, we isolate Fred's arm so that he can't post to prevent the sweep. Now we have the dominant position and can hunt for the submission. One good one from here is this Kimura variation that Jean-Claude Van Damme hit in one of his movies. Lock it in and turn the head until he taps. Now let's correct George's attempted back take. All he needed to do here to secure the back take is simply apply a seatbelt grip around Fred's torso and put his right hook in. From here, if Fred tries to run away, we'll turn with him and ride his back like a backpack into Turtle until we finally have an opportunity to sink in the rear naked choke or find a submission from Turtle. Just before the first event at the Triwizard Tournament, Hermione sneaks into the Champions tent to cheat on her lover Ron with the chosen one, Harry. Now, as Harry, this is a very bad position to be in for two reasons. Number one, we don't want to do our boy Ron like that. Even though we were fighting earlier in the movie and Hermione is a smoke show, he's still our day one homie. Number two, we know the fake news Daily Prophet journalist Rita Skeeter is lurking around the tent somewhere like the rat she is, and we don't want her to see this and write a fake news article surrounding it like she did in the movie. So in the name of bro code and our public image, we need to get Hermione off of us as fast as possible. It won't be the easiest task because Hermione has both her arms wrapped tightly around our head. This gives us two underhooks though. Me personally, I'm going with one of my favorite throws, the front Uchimata for the second time. Secure the body lock, step between their feet, elevate their hips with your knee, rotate, and finish. More likely than not, Hermione will let you go whilst airborne, but if not, the impact of the throw will certainly cause her to let go, and we will be free. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the last scene that we are going to be breaking down, and if you've made it this far in the video, I greatly, sincerely appreciate you, and you should be proud of yourself, because you are gaining priceless grappling knowledge and insights that will bring your game to the next level. Forget Danaher instructionals, forget getting rounds in the gym. Studying and absorbing the information in these grappling breakdowns is the best way to get yourself exponentially better. It's appropriate that the last scene we're looking at is one of the most intense and iconic scenes in the Harry Potter series, and I would say in all of movie history. Lord Voldemort's rise from the grave. Once again, the Dark Lord starts flapping his jaws to what feels like 20 minutes with his old fraternity brothers in the graveyard, and then finally turns his attention to Harry. He goes to touch Harry, and once he comes right in front of him, notice the positional dynamic between these two. Think about what Harry could still do while locked to the statue. Although he can't escape, he can still use his legs. Voldemort has one arm up and one arm at his side, and Harry is positioned slightly above Voldemort, making this the perfect opportunity to throw up a triangle choke. As Harry throws up the choke, he can hold onto the statue with his arms to support his weight and finish the choke. Voldemort is worried way too much about protecting himself from dying by magic, what with the Horcruxes and all and his never-ending search for power, but at least to my knowledge, he never took the time to learn grappling fundamentals to protect himself from dying by getting choked out. It's time to award the appropriate JiuJitsu belts for the specific characters that we looked at in the first 4 movies. However, for some characters, there's not a lot to go off of, so we're also going to be taking into consideration other attributes that are relevant, like intelligence and emotional control in our assessment. Harry is extremely brave, jumping on the troll, his fight against Quirrell, going into the Chamber of Secrets by himself, and 1v1ing the Basilisk, and winning, running after and throwing a rock at Werewolf Lupin to save Sirius's life. This is probably his best attribute. High fight IQ. We saw this in pretty much all of his fights, taking the trolls back, quickly recognizes Quirrell's weakness, his fight with the Basilisk, and consistently finding ways to win matchups where he's significantly outmatched. Poor technique and knowledge of grappling techniques. Weak bottom game defense as seen in his fight against Quirrell, his novice level takedown on Sirius, and never really using any actual techniques. Very powerful wizard and duelist, which could translate to grappling. Taking all of this into consideration, we have decided to award Harry with a 4-stripe white belt. His lack of fundamental techniques and basics prevent him from being promoted to blue belt, but after a few solid training sessions, his high fight IQ and raw talent will allow him to retain teachings quickly and progress very fast. Strategic mind. The main thing I'm basing this off of is the fact that he's a beast at Wizard's chess. In my opinion, this is his best attribute. Toughness and experience. Ron grew up fighting with 5 older brothers, so he's probably pretty tough and used to getting in scraps. Hot temper and low emotional control, which leads to making mistakes. Like we saw when his Eat Slugs spell backfired and when he snapped his wand on the steering wheel when caught in the Whomping Willow. I think Ron would be a good cornerman or coach for Harry because of his strategic mind and their chemistry. Ron ends up being a 2-stripe white belt with high potential because of his talent for chess and strategy. Poor technique. This was evident in his fight with Harry, where he just flew into him and didn't display any technical skill. Skilled wizard. He was a gifted scholar who could perform advanced charms, handle trolls, and bypass Hogwarts defenses. Based on this, Quirrell also gets a 2-stripe white belt. Athletic. In the bedroom scene, we saw signs of agility, good evasiveness when he ran away from Harry, and strong fast twitch muscles as he was jumping on the bed and smacking himself in the head with a lamp. Powerful magic. Dobby was a very powerful magical being, possessing innate wandless magic, a feat usually requiring extreme skill from wizards that often surpassed that of many witches and wizards, which is evident in scenes like his fight against Lucius Malfoy and operating in and out of Hogwarts. He is also tiny, so imagine trying to take his back or armbar him. I don't see it happening. With these factors in mind, we're giving Dobby a blue belt. His raw talent and tiny frame make him a tricky matchup for any grappler. One of the most powerful wizards of all time. He is a master in potions, the dark arts, charms, nonverbal magic, and above all, occlumency, the magical defense of the mind against external penetration. He was also a very skilled duelist. Outstanding emotional control and power over the mind. Like I said, he was renowned for his elite occlumency and was even able to fool Voldemort for years, the only one to do so. Extremely intelligent. His power didn't just come from his magical ability, but also from his incredible intellect. He was a dedicated and gifted scholar, understood advanced magical theory, and even invented his own lethal curses like Sectum Sempra. He needs to work on range control like we saw against Sirius. Although we didn't see a lot of Snape's grappling ability, based on his impressive resume, we placed him at a purple belt. As someone that obsessively dedicates themselves to their craft and continuously improves their ability to defend themselves, we have to assume that Severus has commendable skill in the grappling arts and probably has invented several techniques and submissions of his own. No emotional control, pretty self-explanatory here. He's a jerk and acts on impulse. Bad student. He doesn't pay attention, respect his teachers, or pursue knowledge and personal development. Weak mind. He's shown to be a total coward who bullies people behind his cronies, Crabbe and Goyle, and deeply fears Voldemort. In the books, Malfoy is actually depicted as being a decent seeker that could even keep pace with Harry in flight, but his lack of focus and weak mind kept him from excelling. Draco is a complete novice with an attitude that will get him beaten senseless by gym enforcers, so he gets a white belt. Black belts, enough said. First and foremost, Dobby vs. Gollum. Dobby is insanely powerful and shows signs of having strong fast twitch muscles. However, we know he is susceptible to sharp objects, as we saw in the 7th movie, The Deathly Hallows Part 1, when Bellatrix stabbed him with a knife. Rest in peace to this legend. This is important though, because Gollum's specialty is the back and bite style, where he effortlessly takes the back and goes for the neck bite submission. Is Dobby too small though for Gollum to take his back? Would Gollum overpower Dobby and outscramble him? A matchup between these two would answer these questions. In my opinion though, I think Gollum is just too ferocious, spazzy, and adept at taking the back for Dobby to successfully defend and employ his own offense. So for this one, I got Gollum winning by a rear naked bite in the first round. The last matchup I'd like to see in the super heavyweight card, although we didn't talk about him much in this episode, is between the big man himself, Rubeus Hagrid, and the Mountain from Game of Thrones. This would be an epic clash of two giants that would surely make the very ground shake before them. We know the Mountain has a ton of fighting experience, way more than Hagrid, is fearless, and is as evil as can be. But I believe Hagrid, being half giant, is a good deal larger than the Mountain, which would give him a significant advantage against someone that has probably never fought anyone larger than himself before. I think in this fight, like in most super heavyweight fights, whoever is able to take the back and pin the other first will be the winner. I see it playing out like neither of them is able to overcome the other's strength or get a takedown for a good while, and then in the third round, Hagrid taps into his inner giant and hits an Osotogari from the depths of Azkaban on the Mountain, lays on top of him in side control for the rest of the round, and ends up winning on points. That's it for this episode, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more grappling breakdowns, and I'll see you next week.